everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Freedom Cast. I am your host, Lala Kalandra, and this is the podcast where we talk about how to get, be, and remain free. Guess what? This is the last episode of this season. Woo, woo, woo. What a perfect time to end it as we're closing out the year. And speaking of closing out the year, I thought there'd be no better way for us to do that than to do so with an abundance of affirmations, just like an overwhelming, overflowing amount of affirmations. Affirmations are so good for us. They help us psychologically. They push us to go where we need to go. So I have two amazing affirmationists. I made up that word. Don't hate me, okay? And you better give me some credit if you use it. I have two amazing affirmationists on today's episode. The first one I have is Quinn, and then I have Marche. And you guys know I like to give you a little origin on how I know the guests. So Quinn and I actually work for the same organization, and we had like a meeting across all the nation, and Quinn led this amazing session where she used affirmations and grounding, and she meditated us straight to heaven. I promise. It was amazing. So after that, I'm like, Quinn, hey, let me stay in contact with you because I need these type of affirmations in my life. Marche and I are in a Black podcasting group together. And so she posted one of her episodes where she did some affirmations. I listened and I'm like, listen, I need you to collaborate with me. When you hear something good, you jump on it. That's just a life lesson. So I would love for the guests to introduce themselves. And then we're going to get into everything about affirmations, how to write them, how to say them, how to use them, and how beneficial they are. Marche, we'll start with you, and then we'll go with you, Quinn.
Well, hello, everybody. Like you said, I am Marche Berry, newly Berry as of
Come on, Berry.
actually 1 year. We celebrate our 1 year anniversary next Thursday. So, yeah. But I currently reside in Chicago, Illinois. I moved here actually 2 years ago today to be with my husband and new bonus family. I'm a career coach here, and I also work at a salon. And I also host my own podcast as I do not want to botch your name. Maybe the first time I say it out loud.
Lilac. Steph or Lilac. Yep.
Lilac. Okay. So yeah, like I met her. I do have my own podcast, and actually starting up a new one this Thursday with a good friend of mine from school. It's going to be totally different from what I currently do. So. Yeah, that's a little bit of me. Married, 3 kids, and here in Chicago.
Awesome. And Miss Quinn.
Thank you so much. So yes, my full name is Quinnette Laflore. I am originally from the Washington, D.C. area. However, I currently reside in St. Petersburg, Florida. And in this area, in this space, I have created, I like to say, an opportunity for me to grow and to kind of tap into my highest self. I have been into holistic and natural health for over 20 years now, and it has just been, the gateway, the catalyst for me growing. And I cannot speak on it any more than I already do. A lot of the people that I know and love know me because I'm always encouraging them to, tap into their health, their mind, body, and spirit, and all the things that go with wellness. So thank you so much for, having me on. I'm excited to share. I am growing in my own wellness space, so I'm learning as well in this process. So thank you. And I'm excited to be here, Lilac and Marche.
Yes, awesome. So, you spoke something just to get us right, into the conversation that the wellness journey, it really never ends. It's always going on. It's ongoing. It's never ending. You could learn something one day, experience something, and grow like in leaps and bounds within the next day. Or some people could be going slow. It all depends on the person. So I love that you've been, in holistic health and wellness for 20 years. But you're still ever growing. And I think that's just a good thing to kind of start this off with. Like, what did that journey look like? How did you, Quinn, we'll just go right with you. How did you get into holistic health? What did that journey look like for you? Just give us some thoughts on that.
Wow. So it's funny because when I look back on it, it started at a younger age. And I didn't realize until I did some reflection that my mom was very much into it. But I always just kind of, brushed it off as like, oh, whatever, natural health, like you're into the little crazy things. And so what sparked for me was when I went on a trip to Chicago. Shout out Chi-Town. And I had a friend as a boyfriend, a college boyfriend at that time. I went out to visit him in Chicago, and his brother was in the Nation of Islam. And so he had us go around to all of the different vegan shops and this wellness center directed by Karen, and I can't remember her last name, but she also has an awesome vegan restaurant in near Evanston. So going there and meeting her and learning about all the different modalities of healing and lifestyle analysis, and just seeing her vibrance. At that time, she was, I believe, 50 years old, and she looked like she was 30. And just her talking about nutrition and health. And for me, it was just like that aha moment. The heavens open, angels sang, and I was like, this is the way. And it's like, oh, and that was it for me. And so I went back to college. I started my second semester in college, and I found that college was it was interesting, but I was always going back to holistic health. I was always interested in taking classes about traditional Chinese medicine, and what about Native American healing and Native American modalities and all of those things. So I was always interested in the quote unquote occult. So that's how it started for me.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I mean, and I think it's so important to look at, like, through every culture, civilization, nation, someone had to be like the priest, the shaman. There was some form of wellness that was there. People often neglected, but it was there. No matter how far back we go in history, we know that there were some either meditative practices used, herbal practices used, and some of those things we're still using today. So thank you for that background history and insight, into how you got started. Marche, it's coming right to you. How'd you get into this field, or how'd you get into this interest?
I would say that I've always been, ever since I was little, as far as I can remember, have always been like a very encouraging and positive, inspiring individual. Which, despite how I grew up with a mother who was like very like verbally and emotionally abusive, really toxic, but I still was very, I didn't want other people to feel like how I felt. So I was the one that was the positive one, the one who was always affirming other people. And I wasn't affirming myself. And I probably want to say, and it wasn't until, like really, really getting into that journey of just me and just dismantling all these old beliefs and detaching myself from all these agreements that I grew up with. It was probably when my aunt passed in 2012. And that was kind of like, the first death within our family that really like shook our core, like that was in our inner circle. And I just had like this whole, like, what the heck are you doing, Marche, with who you are, your life and all this thing. And I ended up just like packing my things like that September, moving to Tulsa. Told my family, like, I'm moving to Tulsa. They're like, what the heck? What do you mean you're moving to Tulsa? Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm moving to Tulsa. I just got to go find me. I just got to go get on this journey of me. And so probably starting then, really just getting, going through therapy and just really starting to, realize that I can't continue to pour out for other people if I'm not pouring into myself. So I really got into affirmations and just affirming myself and just really speaking things over myself, even though I didn't believe those things at the moment, because I still was so attached of like the lie. Like eventually, I'm saying, I did start to build that confidence and that self-awareness and that self-love and, really just learning how to really love myself. And so I feel like that's where it all kind of like really, got serious, and me really being more intentional about just me and how I use my words, not just for other people, but just for myself.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing, and it often seems that those who are the most encouraged or those who give out encouragement the most, like we rarely reserve any of that for ourselves. Like we rarely, take of that encouragement. And I think affirmations really help us to like, okay, I'm going to dip my hand in the bowl of encouragement and I'm going to take something up. And I love that you said, Marche, that you might not have even believed it when you were saying it. Like that's the thing. Everyone's like, oh, maybe I don't like to do affirmations or I'm not interested in them because what's being said is not true. Marsha, can you just speak to that? Like how you had to push through and say the affirmations past your own emotions and feelings.
Yeah. So I remember my spiritual mom when I actually found her when I moved to Tulsa through a friend. And I remember, this is one of the things that we were talking about, like, just really how I, speak about myself. And so she had challenged me to just look in a mirror. She just, we took a mirror and she said, I just want you to just start speaking about, what do you see? And, I'm just, like, I see my face. And she was like, no, what do you see? And, and of course, like my therapist, here come the dang tears. And I'm just like,
Yes.
I see someone that's hurt. I see someone that's broken. I see someone that just wants to love and who still has hope, even though I've been through sugar honey iced tea. And and so with that, doing that, just doing that, because I was able to admit all the things that, out loud, how I saw myself, and knowing that that's not how I wanted to feel and wanted to be, I was able to transition into, okay, this is how I want to feel. I am beautiful. I am amazing. I am strong. I am captivating. Like I'm loved. Like, and really speaking in sense, like these are the things I want, even though I don't believe it, but these, I want them. And as I keep speaking them and really positioning myself around people who saw that within me as well, and, became a lot more easier. Like I said, and that confidence and that awareness really built up.
Yeah, Quinn, go right ahead. I saw you shaking your
Okay.
head.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh my gosh, there are no accidents in where things come together and everything is just serendipitous. And I will tell you that when you said that mirror work, okay, so when I was in college, I had an experience where my mom, my sister, she's my half sister, but she's my full sister. I love her. Her mother sent me to a man to do some sort of spiritual work, right? And so I'm going to see this man, and I'm like, what is this? What is this man going to tell me? And what is he going to read about me? And all this other stuff. And so what you just said just sparked. And I was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about my very first experience where he had me stand in front of a mirror and say, I love you, Quinnette Laflore.
Yes.
And I could not tell myself that I love me. And I couldn't even believe it. I just felt awkward, and the tears started crying, and I just felt all of these emotions just unfold. And it was probably one of the most uncomfortable experiences that I have ever had when it came to self-love and looking myself in the mirror and doing that mirror work. And I didn't even know anything about that. It was just so different. Fast forward, I chose to skip, change directions and go into actually seek out a office position working at a traditional medicine, not traditional medicine, holistic wellness space. And as an office coordinator, I was exposed to nutritionists and acupuncturists and energy healers and you name it, herbalists, and you name it, they did it there. And it was just like this beautiful mecca of space. And that's where I met my spiritual mom. I call her my godmother now because I believe that she was definitely sent to me to teach me some things. And she is what introduced me to actual creating, like writing affirmations. And I had no idea what she was saying, okay, this is how you write them. This is how you formulate them. These are the things, the phrasing, the specifics of how you want to be specific with your affirmation, how you want to frame things positively, and what you want to see, how you feel when you write these affirmations, and how you speak them with conviction and love and joyfulness, and all of the energy behind that of having expected those things to happen in your life. So in terms of like that second experience, that is when I actually started to make affirmations a practice for myself, rather than something that I experienced with a holistic healer.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. And I think it's so nice that you both had that spiritual mom to really guide. I mean, because that's really important. Sometimes we're out here floating in these affirmation streets all on our own, we're getting them from here and there and picking them up everywhere. And you don't know how to focus, and you haven't even dealt with your own emotions. So it's hard to say something. And if there's just a lot of like stumbling blocks and roadblocks in the way. I mean, so for anyone, listeners, for anyone trying to create affirmations or trying to, step your toe in, it's okay to partner with someone else or to have someone assist you or help you, or you all start this journey together. I feel like this journey is best done with others. And it's so good to hear our own words back to each other. With both of you, both Quinn and Marche, when you were, doing your activities and how I, first encountered you, I'm like, this is something that I would say to someone else. We all need our own stuff given back to us, especially if it's positive. And I'm not talking about something negative where it's like negative self-talk back to us. But if it's something positive, something full of light, we need that spoken right back to us. It's like we give it out and it comes right back around, that reaping what you sow. You know what I mean? It's called different things and all different things. Some people call it karma, and you reap what you sow. It comes out and then it comes right back to you. So I think that's the beauty of it. We're putting out so many affirmations into the atmosphere that it can't help but to turn right back around and come back on us and give us that strength and confidence right when we need it, So what about for people who want to start writing their own affirmations? What are some tips? What are some things that they can do to start out?
Marche, do you want to start first?
Oh yeah, I would say anybody who wants to start out writing affirmations, I would probably say first there's like so many apps you can download, or even just Googling like affirmations just to kind of get a feel of just, what they are, starting out simple. And it's not really a complex thing. I think people make it really complex.
Yeah.
Or just feel like they had to be like really quote unquote really deep for an affirmation to work. But it's like your words that you are speaking over yourself. So I just feel like, anybody that's wanting to start out writing affirmations, downloading the affirmation app that, I know I have one on my phone that I get throughout the day, when I'm at work and I want to watch Buzz and I'm like, oh, there's an affirmation. Like, I have it just to kind of give me that little love dose for the day. But, and some people, it just comes natural. Like writing affirmations just came natural for me because it just turned into like, what do I want to speak over myself? And, and I just, I remember learning in school, I am is the, two most powerful words, and one of my English teachers, she's like, when she was trying to teach us about a little bit about affirmations that had nothing to do with the assignment, she was just like, trying to encourage us. And she was like, I am is the, two most powerful words that you can say for yourself. And so like, when you say I am, and what do you want to put behind that? That's going to be, give life. That's going to provoke you to be the best version of yourself. That's going to inspire you. That's going to provoke love and joy and happiness and energy, positive energy, that, that manifestation. And so like, that's what I think about when I'm writing affirmations. It's just like, and then also just, practicing mindfulness, really be living in the here and now, in this moment. How do I feel? And if I'm not feeling really good, how do I want to feel? And then I turn that into an affirmation. So that's all I would say. So
that's great. That's great. That's awesome.
I agree. So one of the best practices that I have is to, speaking on what Marche ended with, was you start with what you don't want. And so it's easy for us to identify what we don't want, what we don't want to feel, what we don't want to experience, what we don't want. And so a lot of times our minds are ruminating with what we don't want. And because of that, that's where you dig deeper. That's where you can find your growth. And you take that don't want and you pivot to what I do want. Okay, so I've listed what I don't want. Now, what I do want. And so when you write down what you do want, that is where your affirmation grows. That's where that little seedling pops through the soil, and that is where the light exists. So I have what I do want, and now I can put that to action behind I am courageous. I am beautiful. I am confident. I am secure in my job. I am secure in my future. I am building X, Y, and Z. And so I feel like that's a really good 1, 2, 3 step process for someone to take, which is identify what you don't want, write down what you do want, put a I am in front of it, and start speaking life to it. But also the fourth step would be to feel it. It is really really, really, really intentional, really important that you put intention behind the words that you were speaking. If you just simply say, I am blah, 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 I am blah, 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 and you're reciting it like a robot, that is not really speaking life behind it. You want to feel it, embody it, and visualize yourself in that space, and it just exuding that energy, because words are energy, and you're putting words into action. And there is a phrase called abracadabra. A lot of people don't know. We've seen it in Disney movies. We've seen, the fairy godmother and whoever else say abracadabra, and no one really knows what that means. But what it means is I speak it and it becomes true. I speak it and it becomes to life. I speak it and it is now. And so your words are abracadabra, but your feelings are even more. That's that energy, that push behind the words that push it forward. So abracadabra, your affirmations. And those are the 3 steps I would say.
Listen, that's great. We need to have some type of affirmation conference, book, manual, because I'm just saying, like Marche said, we really make this more complicated than it is. You both have given such great tips on how do you just start out. My mom used to have a saying about the I am too, like whatever you hitch to I am has a funny way of turning back around and hitching onto you. And it's like whatever we're saying is coming back. I keep seeing all these memes about words or spells and, whatever we're saying. I know in my faith, we say life and death is held in the power of the tongue. Like whatever we are saying, whatever we are putting out there has energy. We birth it, we give it life. And it's a shame that sometimes we don't know what we've given life to. So we don't even know what to end, right? We don't know now we don't know what to kill off because we put so much babies out there. We're just sowing our royal oats of words. We don't even know what we put out there. It's very hard to stop something or refuse to think something when we put it out there. And it's like, I'm just doing what you told me to do. I'm doing exactly what you sent me out to do. So I think that's so, so, so important. Like, it's just these simple steps. I am powerful, brave, whatever, and it's good. Yes. Start with the growth area. Start with the growth area. We want to grow in courage. I am courageous. We want to grow in wisdom. I am wise, like anything, and whatever we're saying, going back to Marche's point again, even if we don't believe it at that moment, the more we say it, it's right there.
Yes.
It's right
and
there.
just to add on to that is that I know me personally, I had to really give myself permission to believe that I'm worthy of the words I'm saying.
Talk about that.
Because I dealt with a lot of unworthiness. And so when I would say these affirmations, that was a part of my unbelief. It's like, I don't feel worthy to feel loved or to, have the things that I want to see manifested in my life. And that's like, that I'm loved, that I'm beautiful. It's like I don't feel worthy of it. And so I really had to deal with just, there was a time where I had to, would get up and just every day I was like, I'm worthy. And they said, Marche, you're worthy. Marche, you're worthy. I am worthy. I am worthy. And, really being intentional with my words and just really trying to feel it. And, really, and it's hard to break away from that agreement that you made with that soul tie, that agreement that you made with your heart. And you're just like, but, I do believe that there's such power in our words, and it's able to break, those, I was able to break away from that agreement and really believe that I am worthy. And when I started to feel that worthiness, I could feel the power behind my words and really believing that the words I was speaking were true for me. And so it's like, again, like when you're feeling like that you just don't believe it, really, I don't want to say attack, but really get into or asking yourself, do I feel unworthy of the things that I want to speak? Even if you feel good about yourself, you may just feel like, I don't know if I deserve that, or I don't know if I deserve this. And really just really getting into that and speaking those affirmations of yourself when it comes to those type of things.
Yeah, I mean, Quinn, I definitely want you to speak to that breaking process that we have to come out of agreement with the words we've spoken over ourselves, that process, what it looks like, and then really helping people, our listeners to come out of it. But Marche, I'm just like, oh my gosh, everything. I'm like, what? Like, this is mind blowing. I mean, to have us talk about this, this whole episode is about affirmations because affirmations are a gift. And while everyone's running to Target, Sears, Marshalls to go get these gifts, everyone's trying to go get the Gucci and the Fendi. We need to be talking about the gifts that are eternal. Affirmations are eternal because you can't see them. The energy put out, we can't see it. So it's always going to be there. That's why I really wanted us to put the focus on these gifts that we can unwrap every day. We don't have to run out to the store to get them. They're right here. So Quinn, just please talk about that breaking process that Marche was saying, coming out of agreement with the negative things we said with ourselves and then coming into agreement with our affirmations.
Yes. Let me just take a moment to reflect on what that looked like for me, because
Sure.
A lot of it had to do with, one, first, I'm just going to put it out there, just really letting go of the way that everybody else says that you're supposed to heal. A lot of times they tell you, I was a foster care. I was in foster care. I had abuse. Like I went through all of these different things. So I was constantly in therapy. I was in therapy in high school and therapy in college and therapy in early adulthood and therapy. And I will tell you, the therapy was nice, but it kind of perpetuated a lot of the things. It kept the things alive within me, and those experiences and that energy. It kept it kind of. It was still very much a hold of me. That pain was still very much circulating in my field, and I had to identify that the therapy was not working, and the therapy was sufficient for that time. But when it was it was time for me to go to the next level, now I had to do a lot more work, and what that work looked like was doing inner child work. What that work looked like was doing the meditation. What that work looked like was, really sitting down with myself and identifying, where I learned my habits from, reflecting on my family, reflecting on my my conditioning. I like to call it programming, because you brought up in this household, and that's that, you have no choice. You're the hardware. Their behavior is the software, and they install it into you, and that's what you're running on. And
come on. Come on.
You gotta go back and
I like that analogy.
Listen, if anyone quotes that, give Quinn her credit. If anyone quotes that, give Quinn her credit. Don't steal that. You better mention her name. You see how it's spelled right here. Don't do that to Quinn. Go ahead.
Oh, like, how do I uninstall the toxic responses? How do I uninstall these things? And it really was identifying, one, this behavior is not working. Two, this is how I want to behave. And then three, being mindful in the practice. And, creating the affirmations is part of the practice. It is part of you stepping out there and identifying to yourself every day. I am growing in this space. I am working in this space. I am uninstalling this software and reinstalling this software. So that is really the pivot. That's really where it happens, where identifying ownership and taking action with the words and your feelings. And I think that's one of the first starts. I hope I answered the question right, but yeah.
You did. You did, and then some. You really did. It's really showing people that you don't have to be in any certain place. We can just start saying it. I know that, especially in church, we have a saying that, you can't clean yourself up before you go. You go to get cleaned up, right? You go to get healing. Same thing with this. You don't wait until you're in a certain position, in a certain place to start saying affirmations, because the healing comes the longer we stay with it. So even if it's a hard struggle to say, you know what, I don't believe this right now, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to rewire my brain using some of that same terminology that Quinn was using. I'm going to rewire my brain, because the mind is just a computer. We can train it. We can upload, download. We can do whatever we want to it. I'm going to retrain my brain. And the best way to do that is, to look it up, download that app. All these mindfulness apps that are out here and all these resources that allow us to put us in a place where we want to be, so that the affirmations just start rolling out of us. It doesn't matter what meeting I'm sitting in. And please let me know if you experience this too. It doesn't matter what meeting I'm sitting in, where I'm sitting, affirmations will just start coming up in my mind. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I should have my running document out, that I need to type these things. Because once that encouragement is in you, and it's like when you're overflowing with these affirmations, and it could be about anything. I do want to get into writing affirmations for different seasons of our life. Depending on where we are, our affirmations will change. So Marsha, can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, I definitely have, different affirmations for different seasons of my life, and just like my affirmations before, when I wake up in the morning, when I go to bed, right before I go to work, even for my kids, before, when I'm doing my morning rituals with them, also just around the holiday season is a very triggering time for me, and so I have very specific affirmations for this season, to kind of help me, get through. I have, different affirmations that I speak over myself at the beginning of the year, really setting that tone and that foundation for the year. And then there's like affirmations that I have on my birthday, when it comes to, seeing another year and just, what that looks like for me for the upcoming, year. So it's, it is, you can, I do believe that you can have those affirmations in different seasons for your life, and just different, things that you're going through. So those are mine show up.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the goal is to be so aware of yourself that you know when to shift your affirmations. That if you, sometimes you might not need to be saying that particular affirmation. Maybe it's something else that you need. And it's really important, listeners, to be very aware of yourself, to hear your own self, because I feel like your body will tell you, or your situation will tell you, hey, I need this affirmation for this season. Quinn, can you speak to that?
Oh, yes.
I love it.
So I feel like for me, it's always an ongoing process. So every morning I'm doing my meditation, I'm checking in, or even when those moments, those uncomfortable moments arise, I have to do that 5-minute check-in with myself. Or what am I feeling? Why am I feeling that way? And that's where my affirmations usually come from, is my meditation and my mindful moments and my check-in, my mental health check-ins. And so they spawn in that connective space, in that space of alignment. And for me, most recently is, my affirmation. And I think you saw this, Lilac, the other day. I posted, I commit to showing up for myself the way I show up for others. And that was huge for me, because it was just, I do these, my morning ritual or my evening ritual requires reflection. It requires a check-in of how I feel, what I've experiences, lessons that I've learned, things that have really come up for me. And so I use those as growing, that we were speaking of growth areas. I use those uncomfortable spaces as my opportunity to create affirmation. And so most recently, this one came up for me, because I was like, you know what? I give so much to not only, my work, but my community and my family and my friends. And I'm showing up for them in this way and that way and all the different roles that I hold. But I don't do that for myself. And why am I not showing up consistently for myself in that way? Why am I not loving myself and motivated to love myself in that way? So that was my most recent one. And that just came in from being uncomfortable. Is really acknowledging, like, you have to stop, drop, and roll when something is uncomfortable. They say contrast or struggle is the opportunity. And it's so true. Rather than rolling through like we always do, oh, that was uncomfortable, oh, that was an ouch, oh, that was a trigger, oh, your triggers are your opportunities, and you write them down. You realize, to me, at the end of the day, I write down all my triggers. Oh, that bothered me, I felt uncomfortable. What was behind that? Why was that? Where do I need to grow there? And so that's where my affirmation spawned from. Just, daily mindfulness, daily checking in on myself.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so important. I mean, we're realizing now more than ever that so many people are unaware of themselves. Like, people are blowing up, not just like buildings. I'm talking about themselves, like people. We are exploding, from within. So we're imploding. And it's like, wait a minute, what's going on? We're just not aware. We're not aware of what's going on. We're not aware of how we feel, our triggers. I feel like we've been trained to be robots, that we actually forget that we're humans. So when we have this human emotion, we're like, oh, I have to suppress it. I have to push it aside. And I had did a live one time. I called emotions and feelings like a jealous lover. They pop up places that we don't want them to be. We're at the movies. They're at the movies and they're coming up, we're out to eat. They come out and they visit us and they're in the bushes looking, because we're not giving them quality time. They are jealous of it. We have to give them quality time. We have to give them enough attention so that they don't interrupt our life when we don't want them to. That's what affirmations help me to do. Help me to center myself and focus myself and say, okay, I have the opportunity to speak things that I want, even if not so much I don't believe them, but maybe I don't see them right now. Speak things I want and keep it moving in that way. I mean, it's a whole entire process. It's a whole entire to see where you were and where you are now. I think that's one of the most rewarding things of, doing affirmations, and why it's a gift. It's a gift that we all can unwrap. And some of us choose not to, we choose to neglect it. And I want to talk about like the verbiage of affirmation. So we've mentioned ritual a couple of times. And I know for people, who are religious or in church, we hear ritual and we're ready to run for the hills because we think of, some type of sacrifice. No.
I love a good ritual.
Rituals are just things that you do repetitively. Something that you do, and it helps you to move forward, whatever that is. And sometimes we kind of like push things away based on our own ignorance of it, that we don't know what it is. So it's like, I'm not even going to engage with that. That's super dangerous. So some of those words, so ritual, I think both of you mentioned that you have a morning and an evening ritual. What did that process look like for someone who wants to start setting that up?
I'll go first. Before I get into that, I do want to back up, and because you made a really good point about just the negative voice. And one thing I had to learn when it comes to affirmations is that negative voice that is always going to be there.
Always.
And one thing I had to learn is that it's okay to acknowledge it. Like, so when I'm feeling a certain way and I have this negative voice to say, oh, you're not worthy, it's like, okay, I hear you. I'm going to acknowledge that I heard you. But what I won't do is feed into you. And that helps set me up to transition right into, that positive affirmation. And so then it's not like this, I don't know. It's like, I feel like it used to be like this tug and war. Then I had to learn, like, I'm like, or me, not even tug and war, just me thinking like, I got to get rid of this negative voice. Like, the negative voice just has to leave. And then I had to learn, like, that negative voice is probably going to always be there, but I'm not going to acknowledge it and be like, I hear you, but I'm not going to feed you. I'm not going to get into that. And that helps me kind of shift and pivot to that positive affirmation. But to your point about morning rituals and nightly rituals and what you can do to get started, I actually covered this on an episode of my podcast because, like, again, it doesn't have to be like this huge complex thing where you got to, create this, space in the middle of your living room and you got to have a, for me, it's just getting up.
Because that's what people think. I mean, that's what
Right.
people think.
Yes. They're like, I need
Light all
candles
12 of my
and
candles
stones
and,
and
not that
things.
there's nothing wrong with that. But like, if you're starting out, like, I get up in the morning and I sit up in my bed. I don't touch, I used to be so quick to grab my phone, but now, like, I just don't even grab it. And I just sit there and I just take a couple of deep breaths. And I just kind of just tell myself I'm just thankful to see another day, and I kind of just take in that I can see, I can feel, I can touch, I can taste my morning breath, I can hear, and just really tell myself I am so grateful for the things that so many people take for granted as it just, somebody didn't wake up to see or taste or touch. And so, like, I have that thankfulness and that gratefulness. And then, I just kind of do a reflection, like, how am I feeling, in my spirit, in my heart, what I'm saying? Because there may be some times where I may not have done my evening ritual. And so those things kind of carry over in the morning. And then I kind of address those things then. And so, I'm just kind of do like a little self-reflection. And then I kind of just really listen to my spirit, and what it needs. And I ask myself, like, Marche, what are you needing today, right now, in this moment? And just kind of sitting in that silence, and like words will come up and I'll just start talking and it'll just start coming out and it just, flows out of me. But I would just say, really simple, just get up in the morning, what I'm saying? Just take a couple deep breaths and just, just tell yourself what you're thankful for, because it's a new day, you may want to turn on some music, there's a couple, there's this playlist on Spotify that I like listening to. It's all Black women. It's called Black Girl Meditation. Black Girl Affirmations. And it's a whole list of different Black women and their affirmations. And, sometimes when I just like, I just need their energy. I need their vibe today. And then they're like, kind of like, you can say the affirmations with them. Some of them got beats and music to it. So it kind of gets me in, a real high energy mood, especially if I know I got a busy day. So like, just simple things like that to kind of like see what's, good for you. Some people like sitting in complete silence and doing affirmations. Maybe it's getting up and like, the night before, writing the affirmation on the Post-it note. And then like, when I get up in the morning, I'm going to post this on my mirror and I'm just going to, while I'm brushing my teeth, I'm just going to read this affirmation. Ooh. Yep, there you go. I have so many affirmation cards, so it's like, it doesn't have to like this huge complex thing. Like just starting out simple like that, you should be okay. And just doing and also doing what works best for you, like as you trying different things. Like I had to try different things. I'm like, what, I like this for me. This works really good for me. This is my flow. This is my jam. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, I think what we're really doing, and that's what we do on the Freedom Cast, we are removing every excuse that people are using to say that I can't do this. So you can do it however you want. You don't need to form a circle of crystals or have a candle. You don't need to have anything but yourself and your good intentions and your affirmations that you want to bubble up outside of you. So it's like, we don't have to, get an affirmation kit. And no, it's literally.
Right. I've seen people do that. I've seen people like, I gotta go get like, like rocks and crystals.
Right.
And like my shop. I'm like, they think that's like what affirmation. Like, no, you don't gotta do any. If you're not already into those things, you don't have to. But if you want to learn, that's great. But you don't need those things to kind of speak life over yourself. You just really need your mouth and you. That's it. Your mouth and you. That's all you need to begin with.
Exactly, your mouth and you. And I think we've just become so used to needing something else or someone else to assist us with doing something. But this puts all the responsibility, all the onus back on us. So if we're alive, so listen, anyone who is alive, check if you're alive. If you are alive, then guess what? You are qualified to do affirmations. It's not that hard. Speak to that, Quinn. Like, what are your morning and night rituals, because there might be some people who really want to start that, but they have already transported to some Malaysian mountain with a guru with flowing gowns, it's like, no, it's not even that. It's so much more simple than that. Oh, that's great. Go somewhere and awesome. But what do your rituals look like for someone who just wants to maybe start that process?
Okay. So in the morning, I'll get up and I very much similar to Marche. I speak positive. I have positive words. I do positive thinking over myself as my first thoughts that come into my mind. So as soon as I get some sort of like consciousness of, out of the dream state, I go into, I am worthy. I love you. You are amazing. And just kind of start speaking positive things over myself. One of the things that I say this prayer that I've learned is the light of God surrounds me, the love of God enfolds me, the power of God protects me, the presence of God watches over me. Everywhere I am, God is, and all is well. So that is, it's almost like muscle memory for me. So that's one of the first things that I say to myself. And that is, that's just like speaking protection and love and flow into in alignment with source over me. And so then I get up and then I go into my meditation where I just kind of tune in and, I call on my guides, I tap into my angels, and I call on my ancestors to, just, protect me and guide me throughout the day. After that, I will start asking. They say prayer is for asking and meditation is for listening, for receiving the answers. So I will pray over things that I am not really sure of, I'm uncomfortable with, and then I will move into a meditation. There's this book called Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, which I actually love because he walks through, it's called the Savers process, where you go through, and Savers is an acronym for silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and then scripting. So you can go through, it's like you go through each of these things. You doesn't have to take an hour. If you want to take an hour, you could take an hour. You could take 1 minute and just do 1 minute, silence, 1 minute of affirmation, 1 minute of visualization, 1 minute of, whatever stretching or exercise you need to do, 1 minute of writing, a reflection, and 1 minute of, and you can build upon that. So I really love that book. That was a great way because it expanded upon my normal morning practice. I added a little bit more value for me. Now, when it comes to the evening, it's very much an acknowledgement of I made it through the day. I'm thankful for all of the things that I have been able to afford. I was eating, I was breathing, I was able to provide for myself. People loved me and people poured into me. So it's acknowledgement. And I always end the day with journaling. So I pull out my journal, I write down, I like to call them the strengths, the things that went really well. Then I write down my opportunities, the things that didn't go so well, but those were my opportunities of where I can grow. And then I write down my lessons learned. And so the things that the main lessons, the things that are maybe a theme that is showing up in my life over and over again. And then I write down my new commitment to myself. So that is where my affirmation comes into play. Now, sometimes I don't always get to it. I'd say I have about 85% compliance at getting to my end of the day routine, but my morning always starts out the same way.
Yes.
So, yeah.
That's how it is sometimes, in the morning, you're right there, you're getting up, but at night, sometimes people just fall right into the bed. Or if you have children, if you have a partner, everybody wants something from someone. So all that might be interrupted. But I feel the same way. Morning is always done. I always wake up with a prayer. Just a grateful prayer. I believe gratitude, is so major and plays such a big role in my life. I always wake up with a prayer. Thank you, God, for waking me up. Wanting my feet to be placed on the path, just those kind of things, like really directional and guidance, and wanting to make sure that I'm going in spaces that I'm supposed to be for that day. Touching and really encountering the people that I'm supposed to be encountering for that day, sharing my energy, with someone who needs it, and gaining some from, the places that I need it. Night, sometimes, it just you have good intentions to do it, but it's just not there. But I have found myself throughout the day taking like 30 minutes to either do some affirmations or some mindfulness, like breathing. I listen to this soaking worship music that's so helpful. I play that all throughout my house, all throughout the day. When there's stressful things going on, I just am able to tap in and say, all right, and this is no easy process. Listeners, I don't want you to think it's like, oh yeah, we just came and stumbled across this thing and this was it. It's a process on how to do it, how we move through it, but everybody can do it. And everyone, I think, should do it, because I do want to start talking about the psychology behind affirmations and how they are so beneficial, not just to our mental or our spiritual bodies, because affirmations are very spiritual, but what it does to our physical bodies. Are we speaking those affirming words of healing over ourselves? Where if our words have life and power, are we speaking healing? Quinn, you mentioned the word ruminating, where a thought is playing over and over and over again. And depending on the thought, it could be a sweet dream or a nightmare. Okay, like Beyonce, or a beautiful nightmare. Hello, somebody. It could be either one, right? Depending on the thought. So affirmations allow us to ruminate on positive things, everything that is good, the gifts from above, the light, all that. So we're just changing, kind of that cartridge that we've put into our minds. We're just taking one negative thing out and then changing what we're putting in. So there is a huge psychology. There's so much studies that have been done on the power of affirmations. So has anyone seen any research on that, or heard about any of that psychology?
I have not.
I've seen
not a lot, no.
I have seen one study that was done by a Japanese scientist, and I don't know if you know, this is actually shown in the movie What the Bleep Do We Know, or What the Bleep Do We Know?
Okay.
It really is a metaphysical, spiritual type of documentary. But in this documentary, the scientist takes three different tubes, three different things of water, and one thing of water, he speaks anger and I hate you and all of these are horrible things, and one tube of water he just doesn't pay attention to at all, and the other tube of water he speaks light, love and compassion and joy and all these beautiful things. And you will see he actually did an electron microscope of the water, and he saw that the molecular breakdown, the atomic break, was a molecular atomic. It was the smaller breakdown of the water. The water that was negative, that was receiving the negative energy, was distorted and morphed and globbed, and the water that was receiving the positive energy was crystallized in the shape of like snowflakes. And so he repeated that same experiment. And yes, into sacred geometry. Okay, so this is what we're talking about, how the energy transfers into water and then transfers into life. And so there's he did the same thing with rice. And so he had the three different things of rice, and in one bucket of rice, it was starting to rot and it was looking, it was just horrible and stink. And the other thing of rice he he ignored, and it also was just like, it didn't rot as fast, but it still rotted. And then the other thing of rice was just like fragrant. At the end of the day, you could see the difference between all three energies that were put into each form. And he had the molecular breakdown, this picture of what it looked like underneath so that is the influence of positive words on our energy field, on our cells, on our atoms, and how that breaks down. We are energy. We are 99.9% energy. The rest of it's matter. So if we are all energy, then
I seen a teacher do that with his plants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he had the three plants, and he did the same experiment, and I think he did it for like over a week, and the one he spoke very negative to, like, ended up was like dying, and the one that they and they all each got the same amount of water and light and everything, but it's like he just was speaking really horrible to one, And then, like he said, the second one, he didn't really, he didn't say anything. And then the one he was really giving like life and positive. And then they looked at him in the class, looked at it at the end of the week, and it was just like, wow. Like you said, our words, oh my God, that energy that we speak,
it's powerful. I mean, we technically are plants, like we start from a seed, I'm just saying, like we are plants. We go through the same things. We need the same nutrients. We depend on the sun. Like, I'm just saying, we process our food. That's our photosynthesis. Like we are plants. And if we're not treating ourselves like we would treat a plant or some of our most prized possessions, people will wash their car and just kiss on it and love on it and, rub on it and speak nice words over it. Oh, I love you. I'm just saying, not an inanimate object. We are objects that are alive with hearts and minds and spirits. And it's like, we don't speak these things to ourselves, And what you both have said, I mean, is so mind-blowing, because it's like, what happens to a person who always has something negative spoken over them? What happens? What happens to the energy inside? We're talking about energy. What happens to the energy inside that person? And what type of energy is they going to be giving out? So we only can give out what we've either been fed or what we take in. So what have they been fed? And then we choose to take it in. You break generational curses because you make the choice. I'm not going to do the same thing that my whoever did. We make the choice. We know we've been given. So now we have to rewire and say, I'm going to take what has been given to me. I'm going to put it out of me, or I'm going to leave it inside of me. And that's how we see people going on two different paths. Affirmations breaks open the pathway to a higher self, to a freer self, to a more enlightened self, to a more positive self. And, when I was looking up some things, there is something called a self-affirmation theory. And it is a theory about the importance of affirming ourselves. What I did find that I was always writing affirmations for others, but I wasn't taking it in myself. I'm like, what good is this? Sometimes this can be a little hypocritical. And I mean, like, we're always giving everything else out. But then when it comes time for us to take it, it's like, oh, we just don't have enough time. Like they say, doctors and nurses are the worst patients, just for this very reason. We take and we give, but we often don't reserve enough for ourselves.
When you've done that, have you noticed how your body feels when you are pouring out and you're not pouring into yourself? Because I know personally, when I start to feel very anxious and burnt out and drained, is that I have been pouring out so much to others that I haven't been pouring into myself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I will notice that too. The anxiety will start to rise up. I struggle with anger. I will find myself snapping at the drop of a dime. I mean, things that I could tolerate, you know what I mean? Things that I could typically tolerate, it'll just trigger me and set me off. I'm like, whoa. There's an empty part, there's an empty part of me that needs to be filled up, affirmed. I need to sit in the silence or with my music, with an incense, with a candle, whatever. And I need to fill that space back up. I need to pray. I need to get into a space and a presence that I say, wait a minute, I'm giving out so much. And I did affirmations on boundaries because that's something that I used to really struggle with. I'm always going with boundaries. Listen, because we give so much of ourselves. Yes. And it's very hard to pour from an empty cup. Not very hard. It is impossible to pour from an empty cup. Yeah. So I'm just like making sure to stay aware. I think the mindfulness is everything. Being mindful and aware of how we're feeling individually. Like, okay, why am I so upset over this person doing this? This is something that either has happened before or this person has done it before and I wasn't triggered. Am I full enough? Have I affirmed myself enough? Have I given what I'm giving to everyone else? That's always the question I'm asking myself too.
For sure.
Yeah. What about you, Quinn? Like when you find yourself in that space where it's like, wait, this feeling is rising back up. What does that look like? I know, right?
Ooh,
I know. Marche coming with it. Like, what?
It's a retreat. It really is a retreat. It really is. I need this day off. I need to take this space. And I'm learning actually to have my allies, have my support system to pass the baton and be comfortable releasing.
Come on.
Okay, I don't have to do it all. I don't have to be superwoman. My worth is not my work. You saw that post. I did post that as well. My worth is not my work, because we get caught up in identifying our value in our roles. I am important and I am worthy because I am a mother. I'm important. I am worthy because I am a wife. I'm important. I am worthy because I work at this job. No, you are important. You are worthy because you are here, and you are a child of God, and you are loved, and you are energy, and you are, being fed into daily by source. So, hey, like, you are worthy, period. So one of those things for me is like burnout. It requires some deeper reflection. Burnout requires me to meditate more, to take a bath, to do a lot of journaling, to call my friends, to call my support system, and not the ones that are going to take from me, but the ones that are going to pour into me. And then really just grounding myself in the earth. I cannot emphasize enough, Mother Earth is my friend. I love her. She is amazing. And going and grounding myself with a tree and connecting to the earth, laying on the ground, looking and being mindful of the birds and the squirrels and the sun, and just, tapping into source and just watching the beautiful nature and just connecting with that. That's where I get my rejuvenation from. And just pulling back, just reel myself in, reel myself back in, and say, hey, I am going to take this space. I need to take this space. So that's what it looks like for me.
Yeah, I mean, taking that space. So the self-affirmation theory, that's what it says. Like, when our own self-image is threatened, then it triggers naturally in us to try to restore that self-image. Like if someone has said something negatively about us or someone else, it triggers like a defense mechanism. Now, depending on how you were raised or what was spoken over you or how you were affirmed or supported, then that really determines how quick that defense is triggered. And if we even acknowledge the defense when it's triggered, like if someone speaks something negative to us, or if we say a negative thought to ourselves, will we automatically give a rebuttal for that? Like, no, that's not true. Or does it take us a little longer? Is the process a little longer for us to say this negative thought is not true? That's what the theory talks about. I think it's fascinating, and I think it's high time that we think of the scientific or psychological effects of our words. We've heard it in spiritual places. Because affirmations are very spiritual. What we're putting out. I think it's time that we marry that with the science of, hey, this really works. There might be people who are like, oh, that's hocus pocus, or that's that I'm not really familiar with. This is scientifically proven now that what we say helps to shape our self-image. I mean, and look at it, what we're saying has so much weight. It could weigh us down, or it could be those building blocks that we need to go to our next level. Believe it or not, we've been talking for an hour and some change. The time went by so fast, right?
Yeah.
So we are going to be here, for a few more minutes, really giving out affirmations and sharing some of our favorite affirmations with our listeners. And if any of you, while we're in our sharing process, you want to stop and talk about why this affirmation, made it, into this section, please do. We are given the really behind the scenes of that affirmation creation process, what we go through, what we have to do to show just how simple it is to do this, and how important and how necessary it is for everyone to do it. You don't have to be sitting for an hour, in the lotus position. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 2 minutes of affirmations. You know what I'm saying? People have really done a number on this where we are just thinking it's something completely different. And it's like, it's really not. It's very simple. we have overcomplicated this. Let's bring this right back down to simplicity so that we remove all barriers, all excuses that no one can say, oh, I can't do this because no, you can. If you're alive, again, here's all the requirements. If you're alive, because I don't even want to say if you can speak. There's some people who are mute. If you're alive and you can form a thought in your brain, because you can say those affirmations internally as well, and they have that effect. Now, it is good for us to release our words, but also our thoughts are sitting there saying, okay, what am I thinking about? So I did want to get into a sharing the affirmations. I so appreciate Quinn and Marche. I can't even begin to explain how much I appreciate you both for sharing your insights, your knowledge, sharing your energy on this podcast. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping that people pick up on this energy and use it to propel them to the end of this year and into next year. You know what I mean? All we are supposed to be doing with each other is sharing energy, giving each other that energy that we need, and it just becomes a circulation. The problem that we see is that a lot of people take, but they don't give. So we want to give and we want to receive from each other. So whoever wants to go first, maybe I'll have Marche go first if you want. You could share your affirmations. Then we'll go with Quinn, and then I will close us out. And this will be our affirmation gift to you.
Okay. Well, I guess I would share the ones that from that are just kind of like just been reoccurring over the last couple of weeks. One of them is I am stronger than my weakest excuse. Yeah, I am stronger than my weakest excuse. Another one that is I am strengthening my worth ethic. Because I think so many times we are so focused on our work ethic, okay, that we're not, honoring our worth ethic.
Come on.
Of that, yes. You better coin that. You better copyright that.
That's right. Against folks, please don't steal this stuff. This is not right. This is not the energy we're putting out. We're sharing. Quote everybody and send some change some way.
And this next one, I actually is from this girl I follow. I found her affirmation playlist on Spotify. But the artist name is Tony Jones, and I love this one. I actually found this one Monday, and I was like, "Oh, this is so great!" And I think I shared it on my Facebook. Is that I am me. I am the best version of me. I am not the best copy of the one that teaches, guides, or it's the one who teaches or guides me. And I was like, oh my God, yes, I am the best version of me. I'm not the best copy of someone who's taught me or my spiritual mom or people that I look up to. I can't be that person. I can't be the best copy of who they are. I have to be the best version of me. And then I have one here on my desk that I always, when I'm working, is I do what is right, not what's convenient. Today I will do what is right, not what's convenient. So that's the one I tell myself every day. Like just anything as me as a person, when it comes to my integrity, when it comes to honoring my boundaries, when it comes to doing my checklist, because it's so easy for me to just do what's convenient. Like it's convenient for me to put this off to tomorrow when I know I just put it off 2 days ago. It's convenient for me to have this snack when I know I'm trying to eat more healthy, and so like I feel like when I am saying this every day and throughout the day, it keeps me in alignment with what my goals are for the day, and it also keeps me accountable. And it just makes me feel good as a person that I know that at the end of the day, at that day when I'm reflecting at night, like, oh my God, I did what was right today and not what was convenient for me or the out for me. Rather that, respecting the people, not getting the attitude, being patient, being humble, sharing with my husband, because sometimes when something's on my mind, I'm just like, nothing. He's like, what's wrong? Like, nothing. And it's like, no, let's ease into it. Let's tell him what's wrong. We don't have to talk about it tonight, but let's get it out there. So that one's a huge, huge one for me.
Oh man, those were amazing. I mean, you can feel the weight of those. I mean, it sits with you. I think that, man, those are good. And that's why I like these recordings because it's like we can go back and hear these,
Yeah.
and when you talked about not doing what's convenient, that's everybody's life. It's so much easier. We could be deceitful, dishonest because it's convenient, but it is a choice to be convenient. And if we could speak that over ourselves, I love that so much. I really do. Thank you so much for giving us that gift. It's a gift. You've given us a gift. Much appreciated. Quinn.
Awesome. Thank you. Uh, so, okay, I'll go over some of a number of them. So one is I embracing the flow of life. And I say that to say because a lot of times we are often not trusting the process and not trusting that everything that is happening for everything is happening for us, not against us. And I love that I'm embracing the flow of life. The next one is I'm bravely and confidently going or trying a new direction. And that is just simply acknowledging that you are always going to be trying and unfolding something new. And it can be uncomfortable. And a lot of times it requires courage. So that's one for me. I am having more fun in playtime in my life. Adults don't play enough. We don't have that sense of wonder enough. We don't have that discovery in our thoughts and our energy because we're constantly doing things, checklist and responsibility. So having time for playtime and wonder and experience is so huge, so feeding for the soul. I am lovable exactly where I am in my life. I am lovable exactly where I am in my life because a lot of, at least for me as a single woman, and I'm older, right? So there is that sense of I'm supposed to be here and have these things, and that's negative self-talk of what society has. That we call it script theory in psychology. It's called, the scripts that you've been told that you are supposed to have already checked and gone through, husband, wife, kids, blah blah blah, like all of those things. And so for me, it's I'm lovable exactly where I am in my life, having achieved or having not achieved those things. I'm worthy of love and support and nurturing. That's another one for me. And then the next one is I am safe and I am supported, because a lot of times just feeling insecure about new spaces that I'm entering, or feeling that I'm exposed or just vulnerable, just acknowledging that I'm always safe and I'm always supported and I am loved. So those are three that I loop together. I am safe, I am supported, and I am loved. The next one is, let's see. I'm an evolving being. I am an evolving, unfolding being. So, and then my last one, my newest one this week is I show up for myself the way I show up for others. Speaking to pouring into my own cup. So those are my affirmations that are the ones that have been in frontal lobe in my practice. So, yeah.
Yeah. Those are awesome. I receive them, anytime I hear affirmations, I'm just like, yes, I'm going to take it in because you can feel, where that person was in their life when they were saying it, and even if it's like, okay, it's somewhere I want to grow to or a different level I want to attain, just to hear it is amazing. I mean, when you did post that last affirmation, in our company's group, I was like, yes, we give out so much of ourselves and we leave nothing. I wouldn't even say very little. We leave nothing for ourselves. The same energy we give to everyone else, we need to give that to ourselves and more. It's not selfish. It is making sure that we are accomplishing the dreams and goals and visions that we are pushing others to. What good would it be if we don't accomplish our dreams, our purpose, our reason for being here on this earth, but we're encouraging everyone else to? That's when it's like, wait a minute. We're taking what we're giving out and we're giving ourselves the same energy because we're worth it and we deserve it. So I wrote some affirmations for my job, some of the students at my job. And it was really a summary, and I kind of wrapped up the year. There's 7 of them, so I'll read them. And what we've been doing is commentating on them, like where we were. So I'll start. It says, when I look back over my year, even places where I didn't do my best are seen as bright spots on my growth journey. We could look back over 2020 or 2021 and see places where it's like, okay, I didn't get a chance to do that. I procrastinated myself into 4 months worth of waiting, and I should have been doing this. But even those places, when I started doing that, I switched my perspective because I'm like, wait a minute, these are places that I grew from. I'm still here today, able to do something else, able to keep moving. So I'm always trying to shift like the narrative, like, okay, that's something that I didn't do. I'm still here, I'm still breathing, so I have the opportunity to do it again. And then I said, I vividly visualize the attainment of my goals, and then I move into action. I see it, I move, and I attain it. That's it. And that's how I want to end this year and how I want to go into next year. Then the next one is, my past has no power over the fabulous future I am creating. No matter what we've experienced or gone through, it has no bearing unless we want it to on our future that we're creating. It's important to be aware and mindful. Listeners, see how simple these are? Simple but powerful. It's not a whole bunch of things. It's just things that we want, where we are in our season, where we want to go. And my next one is, I am more than a conqueror. My possibilities are limitless. I see myself refusing to be stopped by any barriers placed in my path by myself or others. So I find that most of my affirmations have some scriptural reference, like the more than a conqueror, that's in the Bible. Because I'm a Christian affirmationist, I find that most of my affirmations will have some type of rewording of the scripture. And I think it helps for those who or share my faith. You see that and you can pick up on that, so it's an encouragement to say, okay, this isn't some foreign concept or something that I'm doing. This is something that I recognize and see. My next one is a short one. I am no longer a prisoner, of negative emotions. I had to break out of that and encourage everyone else to break out of the prison that we sometimes hold ourselves in. I'm like, I don't want to end the year in jail. I don't want to end the year in prison. What? No, I want to be free. I want to go dancing, leaping, and rejoicing into 2022. We can't do that if we're locked up, okay? And then really my next one is, I'm in charge of my life. No one has power over my decision making. I am not powerless to act. We have given so much of our power away. It's time that we take it back and let no one have manipulative control over us emotionally. That's a big thing. When we create those boundaries, we take that control back. And then my last one is, I finish this year strong and step into the new year with greater levels of wisdom, knowledge, and productivity. That's how I want to go into 2022. That's how I want to go. So, those who you are listening, write your affirmations, but start with, as we've heard tonight or today, whenever you're listening, start by looking at yourself in the mirror and telling yourself that you love you. However you are, wherever you are, the moment and place that you are, you love you. Once you can do that, the affirmations will begin to bubble up out of you. Because what is it that you love about yourself? Then you begin to speak positive words over yourself. You've heard from 2 affirmation experts, as I would call them, that they have shared with you. We've all had this conversation about what affirmations are, how we create them, kind of the psychological situation with them, and why they're so important. They mean so much to us. So I do want to give our amazing guests just the final closing words. How would you encourage those who want to start this process and want to get rolling and moving in this? We'll do Quinn, and then Marcia, you can finish us off.
Thank you. Yes, I just say, take the time, carve out time for yourself, and be intentional about sitting down and reflecting on what is most uncomfortable for you and what you don't want, and then turning and creating for that next step of what you do want, and slapping that I am in front of it, making it powerful, knowing that you have already received it and that you are capable of it. Those are the key things to starting. Just carve out that time, sit down with yourself, get yourself a pen and paper, and write out what you don't want, write out what you do want, put I am in front of it, and start reciting it with feeling and conviction.
Absolutely. Awesome. Wonderful. You've laid it out just such an easy process. You both have done that so well. You've really simplified this thing to make it easy for someone who's 2, all the way up to age 102. It's easy to do this. This is a process that we can do. I'm just saying, we removed all the barriers. So sorry, everybody. No more excuses. Let's get in on this. And Marche, what would you say just as your closing comments?
I'm going to say a term that I use when I'm coaching people with community, and that is the 5 success principles. I use these even in my when I'm helping someone get into starting a morning ritual, and that's the 5 success principles is simple, visual, small step, structure, and going from knowing to doing. When you're trying to be on this, when you're opening yourself up to this journey of creating a ritual and getting into affirmation, is keep it simple. Identify the essentials, eliminate the rest. The essentials is you and your mouth in whatever space you decide to be in. Keeping it visual. If you need to write your affirmations down, to put them either on your phone as a screen background, or on your mirror in your car. I have affirmations in my car. I got all these things. And then small steps. Again, you don't have to go and get the affirmation toolkit. Like, small steps. Just start off with maybe, and some people like, I gotta, meditate or, do affirmations for, 30 minutes to an hour. Start small. Just start off with what, I'm just going to spend a minute. Just, and just set a timer for 60 seconds and just start small for 60 seconds and then just build up. And then structure, creating that structure for you, that kind of goes with small steps. What's going to work for you? Do you want to do it in the morning? Do you want to do it in the evening? But just creating a structure that is going to be, right for you. And then once you have all that, is where that knowing to doing. I know my simple, I know my visual, I know my structure, I know my small steps. And now I have the confidence and the closure and I can move forward with confidence and go from knowing to doing. And so I would say, do those little things and you will be successful on your journey.
Oh, man, you two are awesome. Awesome. Just gave some practical ways. You literally walked people down, and we can go back and listen to this as many times as we need to get these steps so we can create affirmations. Again, thank you to both of you. I appreciate you both so much for sharing.
Thank you. Awesome. This is amazing.
Yes.
Look,
Come
this
on.
This is going to be my night ritual. I feel fed. I feel restored.
Yes.
I'm going to with a smile on my face.
Yes. This is it. This is it. It's awesome. It's amazing. Just sharing and really, connecting with like-minded people. I think that's so important nowadays, So again, thank you. Appreciate you. Listeners, make sure to really pay attention to what has been shared. There have been some gems dropped, jewels dropped. Please don't just let them be dropped in vain. Pick them up, use them, and take this gift of affirmations. This is how we're going to carry ourselves into the next year. This is how we get free. This is how we remain free. And this is how we are free. Thank you again. Enjoy the gift of affirmations. They are here from you. They're here for you. Make sure to unwrap them, and we will see you next season. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.